Welcome back to the show for the It's Too Easy podcast. Another week. I believe it's week 13 for the NFL. Got some Thursday night football, a couple games for Thanksgiving. Jake, where are we starting out?
First game on the slate that we were going to talk about is the Cowboys and the Chiefs. Honestly, my expectations for this game are kind of all over the place. Like, part of me thinks Cowboys could win this game because they really need it. But then again, you got the Chiefs, who are probably the best team in the past decade, that also really need this win. Can't really afford to go back to 500. So I'm leaning on the Chiefs money line right now. Just going to ride that wave while this team still has the same core that they've had for the last 5-10 years. Ever since Mahomes showed up, I just think they're going to be able to play better defensively than the Cowboys, and I think that their offense will manage to keep them in the game. They went down like 14-3 or 11-14 points against the Colts last week, managed to come back, take it into overtime, and win. So I do expect this Chiefs team to manage to get it done one way or another, so I'll stick with them on the money line.
Yeah, I could see this being all over the place. I could see it being high scoring. I could see it being low scoring. I could see the Cowboys winning. I could see the Chiefs winning. I'm going to stick with the Chiefs money line. Same reason. They've just been there for the last 10 years. I expect Spagnolia to cook up a great game plan defensively to kind of limit the Cowboys offense, being at home on a short week. So for that reason, I'd kind of lean on the under 52.5, and any sort of under makes me think that the Chiefs are going to get it done because they'll get their 24 against our defense, I would imagine, pretty easily.
Yeah.
But we have looked better again last week against the Eagles. We looked solid, especially come the second half. And then the week before that against the Raiders, obviously Raiders, but much improved, especially against the run in the last 5 weeks. They're actually in the top 5 of run defenses. So it'll be an interesting game. Chiefs don't run it much, so our pass defense is horrendous, and Mahomes should be able to sling it to whoever he wants. So I'm going to stick with the Chiefs on the money line.
Yeah. Then we got the Packers and the Lions. I believe another game on Thursday night. Should be a fun game. The Lions just barely managed to squeak by the Giants with Jameis Winston. Jameis had a hell of a game. But Jahmyr Gibbs went for 200 yards and a big touchdown in overtime. That was like a 67-yarder. Pretty impressive. Once again, another game that I'm kind of going back and forth on. This Packers defense has been getting a lot better as the season's gone on. But I'm going to take the Lions minus 2.5 here at home. I feel like they're going to be a lot more comfortable at home. And after that tough game against the Giants going into overtime, I just think that this one's going to be a little bit easier for them. And I think that this Packers offense just still has a lot of young guys. And I think they're kind of struggling to kind of figure out a game plan for a lot of these games that they're in. And they're really relying on their defense to step up and keep them in these games. And the Lions offense, if they can get it going early, I could see them taking a 10-point lead early and just kind of managing that lead throughout the game. So whether it ends up being a field goal, touchdown, blowout, I just think that the Lions are going to manage to win. So I'm going to take them minus 2.5 in this game.
Yeah, another good game for Thursday, Thanksgiving. Again, I could see it going any of the 4 directions, high, low scoring. You got 2 pretty solid defenses, 2 pretty solid offenses, although the Packers have been kind of slacking throughout the year. Especially no Josh Jacobs last week. It didn't look like they missed him. Emmanuel Wilson went for 100 plus. So my lean's going to be on the Packers plus 4. They already beat them earlier in the year by 14, 27-13. Granted, that was at home. In Detroit, it's going to be a different story, especially on a short week. But I'm just thinking back to 2 years ago on Thanksgiving Day. The Packers smacked the Lions, which I'm kind of having visions of. So I'm going to take the plus 4 for the Packers.
Yeah, right on. Then we move on to the Bengals and the Ravens. Bengals are 3-8. Ravens are back into the lead, I believe, tied for the division lead in that division, which is pretty crazy to say, at 6-5. If Burrow's back this week, bottom line is I'm taking the Bengals plus 7.5. So the moment that I see that he's back, I will definitely be jumping on that line. But until then, don't have any confirmation yet, so I'm kind of just going to stay away from it for now. The Ravens have been getting a lot of guys back from injury kind of over the course of these last 5 weeks, in which they've gotten 5 wins in a row. So I think it makes sense if you want to take the Ravens money line. But I definitely think the Bengals plus 7.5. If you're going to lean on one of those lines, then I would lean there. Especially if Burrow plays, I think Bengals are going to have a shot to win this game just because Burrow has the chemistry with that offense, and their defense isn't great, but I'm hoping that Burrow will keep the defense off the field.
Yeah, very strange game. Another fun one. Bengals if they win this, they're only 2 games back with the head-to-head against Steelers and Ravens with a few to go. So it could be interesting. For that reason, I would probably lean on the plus 7.5 for the Bengals as well. I am unsure. I know we just had Jamar Chase was out, so he's going to be back because it was just a 1-game suspension. I expect him to have a huge week. But I believe T. Higgins went down in the last game, and so I don't believe he'll be playing. So it does make me kind of question that. Not knowing if Burrow's going to be playing or not, I'm just going to stick with the Ravens bot down to -3. But I think I would lean on the Bengals to cover the 7.5 if Joe's playing to give him a chance to get back in the division.
Yeah, for sure. Then we got the Bears and the Eagles. Not too much to say other than obviously the Eagles choked that game against Dallas last week. Being back at home, I don't expect the same thing to happen against this Bears team. Bears are, I think, 8-3, which is pretty damn impressive. Ben Johnson's really turned that organization around in a hurry, and I just think that the Eagles are going to need to bounce back. They're going to need some momentum riding into the playoffs because if they played like the way they did against the Cowboys, I think they're going to have a really rough time in the playoffs. So they need this win. I think they're going to need a first-round bye just to kind of see who that puts them against. So I'm very curious to kind of see how the NFC shapes up. I believe right now the Rams are probably the best team in the NFL, and they'll likely end up getting the first-round bye if they continue to play this well. So the Eagles need to continue to keep themselves there. Definitely at least get the 2 seed so they can play the 7 seed. So I'm leaning on the Eagles -2.5. I love the Bears, love the way they've been playing. I just see this being a little bit more of a difficult game for them. And if they can actually get Saquon going, then I imagine they'll be able to win this game.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be all that close of a game. The only way I think it does is if it stays kind of defensive, but I think this is going to be a showing out party for the Eagles of what they still got, especially after blowing the lead. Both teams are 8-3, like you said. They're the 2 and the 3 seed, so this game will be vying for that 2 seed spot. And if the Rams end up losing one, they'll all be tied at that 1 with the Eagles having the head-to-head against the Rams. So it's a big game for them. It's going to be at home. In a must-win after a loss, so I think that they're going to get it done. I do think that they're going to cover the 7-point line as well.
Yep. And then we got the Raiders and the Chargers. Man, the Raiders have just been terrible this season. We called Stewart getting that win last week, which ended up working out. Yeah, it's pretty scary for the Raiders right now. Their offensive line, I think, is probably the worst in the entire NFL, right there with the Titans, maybe. I still think the Titans have had better showings every now and then. The Raiders are just continually horrible. They've lost a couple guys now to injury, and it's just not gotten any better. Yeah, I just don't really have any trust in this Raiders team. I don't know if the Chargers at 9.5 is really a solid play, so I'll buy the Chargers down to 6.5 and take it there. I think they're just going to be the better team. Their defense is going to be able to put up a tough fight. Gino's likely going to have another pick, and I think that turnover battle will end up willing the Chargers to a win here. Hopefully it's by more than a score, so I'll take them at 6.5.
Yeah, that Browns last week was free. We were talking about the defensive line, Myles Garrett going against the Raiders' offensive line. Gino got sacked 10 times last week. No one talked about it. 10 times. Myles Garrett's now up to 18 sacks on the year, 4.5 away from the record with 6-7 games to go. So it's been crazy to see what they've been able to do. Raiders are Swiss cheese, so I'm going to stick with the Chargers covering. I think I'll take that at -6.5 as well.
Yeah, right on. Then we got the Broncos and the Commanders. Don't have too much to say about this one. I'm looking forward to watching it because I get to watch 2 Duck quarterbacks. I believe Mariota's still playing. Jaden's questionable. Isn't going to practice this week, so they're saying that he's doubtful. Either way, I just think that the Broncos defense is going to be too much for this Commanders team. And I think it's about time for this Broncos offense to kick into gear. They looked a lot better 2 weeks ago against the Chiefs. Didn't turn the ball over at all. Obviously, the losing J.K. Dobbins is going to be a big hit for them in the playoffs. So I think that their run's likely going to end up ending early on in the playoffs just because they're not going to be able to have the effectiveness of the running game with having the J.K. and Harvey duo. I think they both can be used in their certain roles really well, but I feel like just having Harvey running the ball just so inexperienced is going to be really tough for that team. And if they can't run it, sometimes Bo has a really tough time kind of flowing into that passing game and getting into the rhythm. So I think, though, they need this win. They need to stick right there with the Patriots at 10-2 on the AFC side. Just try and give themselves a shot at that bye. If they don't get that bye, they're going to end up playing the Jaguars or the Bills. I think they'd rather play the Jaguars. They definitely don't want to play the Bills again after going out to them last year in the first round of playoffs. So the Broncos need to keep winning. That's the bottom line. Their schedule's not too difficult. I believe they have the Packers and the Chiefs left, along with the Raiders and the Commanders and one other team, Chargers, last game of the season, and one more. So they need to keep winning, and I think they will. I do expect them to get the win here in Washington. I think that Washington's defense isn't going to pose much threat. Broncos' offensive line has been incredible, so hopefully they'll be able to give Boda some time to throw and the wide receivers some time to get open, and they'll be able to click early. So I'll take the Broncos money line.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I don't foresee the Commanders scoring a whole lot unless it's defensively, which I don't really expect either. So I'm going to stick with the Broncos. I'm going to buy it down to 4. I don't love the 6.5. Just going on the road, not the longest flight, but probably 3 hours over. Potential for Jaden to return, but again, I think it'll be Mariota. And their defense is on pace for the most sacks all time for a team. From what I last saw, I believe they're still on track for that. And so if you're getting Mariota out of the pocket and he's using his legs, great. But I just think their defense, the linebackers, they're too quick. That if anything, Mariota is going to get hurt, and then you're left in the dust with nothing else. So I think the Broncos are easily going to cover, but I do like buying it down to just 4 points.
Yeah, right on. Then we got the Niners and the Browns. Browns obviously got that huge win last week against the Raiders. I think that is going to play. I'm into a little bit of confidence for the Browns being back at home here, but the Niners on the other side just got a ton of players back from injury. Obviously, they're still missing Bosa, but they looked incredible against the Panthers. Panthers, obviously, we've talked about their inconsistencies the entire year, and it showed again this last week. But I expect this Niners defense to absolutely get after Shedeur. I expect a couple of interceptions or sack fumbles, something along those lines that are going to give the Niners a solid chance to cover deep into this game. I expect them to be up big and just not give the Browns a lot of will. On the flip side, the Browns defense has also obviously been great still. It's just been a matter of whether that offense can capitalize, and they just haven't the entire year. It looked better last week, but I didn't think they were anything promising. So I'm going to stick with the Niners minus 2.5 in this game. I believe that's buying it down from like 3.5 or 4.5. But yeah, I just think the Niners are going to be a far better team. Getting these players back from injury is going to make a big difference. Purdy did have 3 picks in the first half, and they still managed to win the game. So even if he has a couple turnovers in this game, it's just a matter of this defense is going to be able to stick up strong against this Browns team, and eventually they'll manage to get in the end zone because they got too many weapons with McCaffrey, Kittle, and Juwan Jennings. And even a couple of these other guys have just been awesome so far this year for the Niners. It's crazy how they manage to just keep winning. So looking forward to seeing kind of how it turns out for them in the playoffs. If they keep getting guys back that are healthy and kind of can keep this ball rolling, that'll be great. But Purdy definitely can't turn the ball over 3.5 times in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens, but I'm definitely thinking they're going to win this game against the Browns.
Yeah, this is like the weirdest line I've seen of the week. The Browns are 4.5-point dogs. I believe it did open at 6. Now it's down to 4.5, which also makes no sense to me. If I saw a 6-point line, I'd imagine everyone's going to go take the Niners. So it seems kind of trappy to me. Last time I remember this game happening, the Browns ended up winning on I think it was like a blocked field goal or missed field goal, went the other way, and Browns ended up pulling it off like 17-16 or something disgusting. I think it's going to be another game just like that, just on the sole fact that our over-under is listed at 37.5. So they're expecting around 21 to 16.5, which makes me think that the Browns should be able to cover 7. So I'm going to buy it up to 7. Being at home with the defense looking as good as they are, I don't love it, but I'm going to take the Browns to cover 7.
Yeah, right on. Then we got the Jags and the Titans. Honestly, not too much to say about this team. I believe the Titans are 1-10 now, so it's just been a rough road for them. They need to completely rebuild that team, and I think they even tried this last offseason, but it's just clearly not working. I've lost some guys in the meantime, so it just doesn't help. Jags need to win this game to keep themselves in the playoff race. Everybody's got to be able to keep up with the Chiefs now. Bills and the Jags right now are the 6 and 7 seed, so both those teams need to win, and I expect the Jags to get the win here against the Titans. I'm going to buy it down to 4.5 and just take the Jags. I think they're going to be the better team, but I do think the Titans will be able to put up a bit of a fight, maybe come back a little bit like they did last week against the Seahawks. But yeah, I'll stick with the Jags minus 4.5.
Yep, I'm going to take it right there with you, minus 4.5. The Jags should be able to get an easy win here. The Titans have been horrendous. They were down 27, I believe, early. Had 21 unanswered to cover the line that was originally 13. Only lost by 6 at home. Again, something weird we were talking about. Started with a punt return touchdown and last second score. But I don't think this Titans team's any good. Obviously, 1-10 shows you as much as we really need to see. Jags should be able to score enough to cover 4.
Yep. Then we got the Texans and the Colts. Yeah, I mean, this game is kind of crazy too. I think the Colts are only 3.5-point favorites at home here, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't know if CJ Stroud's going to be back, but I'm just going to stick with the Colts minus 2.5. I feel like it's the most obvious play here. Even if CJ is back, he just does not have any weapons on that team. Now, granted, they've been playing better and their defense is the best in the NFL. But on the flip side, you got the Colts, and they're playing like an absolute unit right now. Everybody's on the same page. Defense has been better. Obviously, losing that game to the Chiefs was tough. But they need this one. They need to kind of keep themselves far and ahead and in a higher seed. So I like the Colts minus 2.5 in this game. I think the Texans are going to end up struggling, and it likely could be a very defensive game. But I think eventually Jonathan Taylor is going to be able to get something going, and that'll open up the field a little bit for Daniel Jones, and that'll be enough for the Colts to cover a field goal.
Yep, this will be an interesting one. Two great defenses going at it. CJ struggled a little bit, and Daniel Jones struggles when they're not able to run the ball effectively, and that was shown again this last week. Didn't do much the entire second half against the Chiefs. I think that'll be similar here. I do think Jonathan Taylor might be able to break one, get the offense opening up a little more than we expect, but my favorite play of the game is probably under 45.5. Even if this ends up getting a few more touchdowns than I would even expect. I'm seeing 24-21. Not sure how I'm feeling either way. I do think Colts will probably pull off the victory, get themselves up to 9-3, space out the division lead from the Jags, who should be following right behind them at 8-4 after this week. So I'm taking Colts on the money line, and I'm thinking that under 45.5.
Yeah, right on. I like that too. Then we got the Saints and the Dolphins. Once again, not too much to say. Both these teams kind of suck. Dolphins have been managing to win some games as of late, even without Tyreek, and I expect more of the same here. Their defense is starting to step up a little bit, and I expect Tyler Shough to just have a difficult time in this game, especially being on the road. I love the Dolphins at home, so I'm just going to take the Dolphins on the money line. Saints are probably still the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah. Saints with Rattler, I would say, are not the worst team in the NFL. With what we've seen from Shough, I'd say they're the worst team in the NFL. I'd take the Titans to beat them. So I'm going to take the Dolphins to beat them as well. Don't love the 6 points. It seems kind of weird. If I bought points on either way, I'd probably go towards plus 10 for the Saints. But I don't love it, so I'm going to stick with the Dolphins to get a win at home.
Yeah, I like that. And then we got the Falcons and the Jets. My big shock pick of the week. Obviously, Kirk looked pretty solid last week, getting a chance back with the Falcons. But I'm going to take the Jets plus 3.5 at home. Don't know why. I just feel like this is going to be one of those games that comes down to the wire, and a team's going to end up winning it on a walk-off field goal. And I'm hoping it's the Jets. Honestly, I just think that the Falcons are pretty doo-doo, and the Bucs are managing to keep themselves tied at the top of the division. So I think that the Bucs need a big win to be able to get that division under control. And I just don't think the Falcons would be a good representation for that. I think the Jets need another win. They're 2-9. They're due for one. And against this Falcons defense, hopefully Justin Fields can get out and run a little bit and give that team a bit of a chance to win this game. And then we've talked about this previously, but the Falcons are not nearly as good on the road. So I'm very curious to see how they play in New York.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting. Again, like I said last week, I think the Falcons' offense depends solely on Drake London and what he's able to do to open up the rest of the field so that they can run it effectively. And I believe he's still out next week. So if that's the case, I definitely don't hate the Jets plus 3 pick. I do believe that Justin Fields was benched, so I think Tyrod's going to be starting this week.
Oh, okay.
But either way, Tyrod was able to run the offense well for the few games that he had this season. Breece Hall's been running and receiving really well this year, and Garrett Wilson, I believe, is off injury as well, so he should be back. So I'm not going to touch this game. I'm going to no play it, but I do like the lean of the Jets, assuming that London is out of the game.
Yeah. Moving on, we got the Rams and the Panthers. I think the Rams are 10.5-point favorites in this one. The Panthers are at home. I've played a lot better at home. I expect them to play well at home. But they're not going to be able to stop the Rams. It's just the bottom line. I think the Rams are the best team in the NFL right now, personally. I'm taking a minus 6.5. Still going to buy it down a little bit just because they're on the road. And I think 10.5 is just a lot of points. But Matt Stafford, nothing's been stopping him this season. On the flip side, they got probably the best defense in the NFL, or one of the top 5 at least. They're the sleeper team of the season so far. I think that they could easily make another Super Bowl run. Devontae Adams has been absolutely incredible to watch. I think he's got like 13 touchdowns on the season so far, which is just incredible at his age and just what he's able to do. Just showcasing like he wasn't just going to any team. He wants to go and win, and he wants to go and play with a quarterback that can drop it in a bucket. He just happened to find the perfect place. Him and Puka, one on each side. How do you defend that? You got to send a safety one way, and the other way is open. So I love the Rams in this game. I think their offense is incredible to watch. I love Matt Stafford, man. I hope he's going to be the front runner for the MVP. So far, he's got my MVP vote. Just been incredible so far this season. Hasn't turned the ball over much at all. And I just expect this team to roll. So I'm going to take the Rams -6.5 here on the road against the Panthers.
This line is massive, which is crazy to me. It's hard to hate, though. The Rams have looked so good all year long. You just touched on it. Matt Stafford has not been turning the ball over at all. I think he's gone 25, if not, I think it might be up to 27 straight touchdowns without throwing a pick. We have seen J.C. Horn get, I believe, 5 or 6 on the year, though. Panthers defense has around 11, so they're getting about 1 a game. And I think that the only way for the Panthers to keep this game close is by getting a pick or 2 or maybe forcing a fumble, which I could see happening just because the Rams have been so clean throughout the year. And it's a long flight to go all the way to Carolina. I'm probably going to lean on...
J.C. Horn did have a concussion.
He did get hurt, yeah.
So we'll see if he plays.
He did go out second half. I would expect him to be back, but if not, oh well. They need someone to step up.
Sunday.
I'm not going to go against my guy. If you followed this for the last few years, you know Matty Ice is my guy. So I'm going to take the Rams to get it done. I'm going to buy it to 4. I know that's a long way down, but I really think I'd prefer that over buying the Panthers up to 14.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I love the Rams, man. I think they're probably the most fun team to watch in the NFL so far this year. So, and most slept on as well. Like I just don't think anybody's really been talking about it in the media. So, go Rams. I think they're definitely the sleeper to win the Super Bowl. Then we got the Cardinals and the Bucs. Talked about this a little bit earlier. The Bucs need to win. I think obviously they've struggled with a lot of injuries this year, and the defense has been super inconsistent over the last few weeks, and it's just caused them to lose some games. Baker hasn't had all of his weapons that he needs. I think they really need Bucky Irvin to get back and just provide some offensive explosion for them and just give another guy to guard, because without him, it's been quite difficult for this team. And they've just left the defense out on the field. It feels like a lot of these games, just constantly the defense just on the field. And it's really hard to just continue to try and play when your offense isn't really giving you any chance. So I think this is going to be a different game. Jacoby Brissett probably will have an interception in this game. I expect the Cardinals to turn it over a couple times. Hopefully the Bucs offense can get it going and get this defense off the field. I'm going to buy it down to 2.5, take the Bucs at home. They definitely need to get this division back under control, and this is the best way to do it against this Cardinals team. So hopefully the Bucs will get this win. I love Baker, love what he's doing for that team, and it's time for them to get back in the win column.
I don't know if Baker's going to be playing.
Did he get injured? I didn't even know if he did.
He didn't play the second half. He came back out the second half with his shoulder in a sling. I think it was an AC joint sprain. Which I think is why the line is just 3 right now, being in Tampa Bay. Because I think it's going to end up being Teddy Bridgewater against Jacoby Brissett, so it should be a battle for the ages. Probably all that we could ask for Week 13 of NFL. The line's at 44.5. If you're telling me Teddy Bridgewater and Brissett are going to be at quarterback, I'm going to take the over at 44.5. I think that we're going to get some points on the board. I think the old fellas are going to be able to sling it. Trey Benson is going to be back, I believe, officially this week for the Cardinals. Bucky Irving should be back for the Bucs. Should be able to get some good field position with some turnovers, I'd expect. So I do like the overplay in this week. I don't have a preference on Bucs winning, although I think that they should. If Baker plays, I think they'll get it done. But because he's not playing, I'm going to stay away from that and just take the over 44.5.
Yeah, fair enough. I think even if Baker does play, that over 44.5 is likely still there. So That's pretty nice. Then we got the Vikings and the Seahawks. Yeah, J.J. McCarthy's really struggled. I think everybody over there that's a Vikings fan is really starting to second guess that pick. especially when you got people like Bo Nix and Michael Penix is, I think, even playing better than JJ is here in his rookie year. But Michael Penix is out now, so we'll see. But yeah, I just don't like the way JJ is playing. The Seahawks defense is ferocious. That front seven is probably one of the top 3 in football. And yeah, the Seahawks are at home. JJ's not going to know what hit him in this game. This crowd's a little bit different, and I think they're going to show it, especially in this game. The Seahawks got to keep pace with the Rams, and I think they're going to manage to do so. That division's incredibly insane with the Niners, Seahawks, and Rams all over 8 wins. It's pretty incredible. So I'm very curious to kind of see where that puts everybody in the playoffs. But yeah, super fun division. Really looking forward to seeing kind of how that one pans out. Likely we could have a divisional, like 2 teams from this division playing in the first round of playoffs, which should also be insane. So yeah, I'm going to stick with the Seahawks minus 6.5. I think that they're easily going to win this game. I just really hope Darnold doesn't have just really uncharacteristic turnovers. Kind of just randomly happens with him. So hopefully he can stay away from that. And Jackson Smith-Njigba was incredible this year, so I expect a little bit more of the same. And they should be able to blow out this Vikings team.
Yeah, this is interesting. It's a Darnold revenge game for the team that gave up on him after going 14-3 last year. Seahawks picked him up, and he's obviously looked phenomenal other than the game against the Rams, which they still had a chance to win at the end. So it'll be interesting because no one knows him better than Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores as well. So they should be able to match up really evenly. I do think 10.5 is a lot of points. I would lean originally on the Seahawks to cover that. So I'm going to buy the Vikings up to 14. Assume that Flores is able to get a pick or two, keep the game interesting by getting good field position. That's about the only way that the Vikings offense under JJ has been able to score is when the field position is 50 yards or less. So we'll see how it goes. I don't love it. I think Seahawks will win, but I do think I'm going to buy the Vikings at 14.
Yeah, nice. Then we got 2 games left, Bills and the Steelers. Yeah, this game is just really interesting. Obviously, no Aaron Rodgers. But the Bills, I believe, are 3.5 point favorites or something along those lines, 4.5 maybe. I'm going to buy the Bills down to 2.5 points. They got to keep themselves in this playoff race. If they don't be careful and end up losing a couple more games, the Chiefs could just hopscotch right over them if they manage to get on a win streak. So the Bills really need this win here. I think the Steelers are starting to fade. They've kind of been fading as the season goes on, and losing Aaron Rodgers definitely does not help. So yeah, I'll stick with the Bills minus 2.5 here on the road. Got to keep themselves in the playoff race. Try and get a little bit better seed, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think they're definitely gonna win this game on the road here.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bills. I'm going to take the Bills on the money line. 3.5 seems like a really weird line, especially if Aaron Rodgers is out. Like, no way they expect Mason Rudolph to keep up with Josh Allen. It just doesn't make sense. Steelers defense has been Swiss cheese. Bills defense has been Swiss cheese. Lines at 47.5. So you'd expect some scoring. I don't expect as much scoring from Rudolph. I feel like the line should be higher. So just because it's trappy feel, I'm going to take Bills at the money line.
Yeah, right on. I love that as well. And final game on the slate, we got the Giants and the Patriots. Another bit of a shocker. I'm actually going to take the Giants plus 10.5. I believe they're 7-point dogs here. I think this game's probably going to be really cold being up in New England in the end of November, but we'll see. I just think that the Jameis-led Giants are a little bit of a different team. They kind of have some of that mojo from Jameis, and they've just completely opened the playbook up and just done whatever they think is going to work. And I think it is managing to work. They almost beat the Lions last week and then just gave up a 70-yarder in overtime. So go figure. I think they can cause Drake May a few fits, but I don't expect it to last the entire game. I still think the Patriots are going to manage to win. Probably be like a 6 to 10 point victory. So I'll take the Giants at plus 10.5 and hope they cover that.
Yeah, we were in for the whole Jameis experience. He caught a touchdown, stiff-armed a guy at the 10-yard line after juking him from the 20. Found his way in the end zone. Had a couple touchdowns, couple nice dances there to celebrate. They had the lead the whole time until he threw another pick in the fourth quarter. Gave the Lions good field position to get back in it. And then bad coaching. What's new for the Giants? They had a chance to kick a field goal to go up 6, forced the Lions to go get a touchdown to end it, and they decided to go for it. Jameis takes a sack, turnover on downs, Lions tie it, go to overtime and win. So rest is history. I do think Jameis is the most fun player in the entire league to keep up with. I would love to see him on the Steelers or Broncos, where they have typically good coaching and good defenses, just to see what he could do. But I'm going to take the plus 10.5 as well. I think they should be able to keep it interesting, although the Patriots have been solid. Still trying to keep that one seed alive for themselves at 10-2, getting ready for 11-2.
Yeah, it's going to be a super interesting game. Yeah, that wraps it up for the NFL slate for week number 13. Getting down to the wire, got I think 5 more games left for each team, so it's going to be really interesting to kind of see where all these teams line up. It's a pretty fun week. I think we got a pretty solid little slate going. Hopefully it'll all pan out. Last week I ended up going 10-4, so we'll see how everything plays out. Hopefully we can kind of keep this roll and this momentum going. It's been a pretty solid season. I think we're hitting right around 65% of our bets. So, it means we're only losing 35%, which, that's pretty solid. Winning 2/3 of them. Definitely making some money there if you're following the channel. So make sure to like, subscribe, comment if you want to hear more. Got a great comment last week that that you guys would love timestamps. We'll do our best to see if we can get those on the videos. We just happen to both be really busy right now. So just trying to make sure we get the content out to you guys is kind of our priority. But as we keep getting stuff out, we'll see if we can get timestamps involved in the videos as well. So, until week 14, we hope you guys have a great weekend. Hope your teams do well. And we'll see you back next week. Peace.